Hey y'all, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Bodice Tipplers,
the podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
And then we drink about it. This episode is brought to you by Shelly Lawrenson's newest, Breaking Badger, from Kensington Books. It's instinct that drives Finn Malone to rescue a bunch of hard-battling honey badgers. The Siberian tiger shifter just can't bear, B-E-A-R, to see his fellow shifters harmed. But no way can Finn have a house full of honey badgers when he also has two brothers with no patience. Things just go from bad to worse when honey badgers rudely ejected from his house turn out to be the only ones who can help him solve a family tragedy. Problem-solving honey badgers. He's just not sure he can even get back into the badger's good graces, since badgers lack graces of any kind.
I'm telling you, he just needs to bring wine. You can get that for 6 bottles and you get what off? If you really piss somebody off.
Actually, what he needs to do is get woodchuck.
That's true.
So, Shelly Lawrenson, author of Breaking Badger, is a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author and also genius person because she has written a honey badger / Siberian tiger shifter romance. She is the author of Pride, Call of Crows, and the Honey Badger Chronicles. So Sarah and I were very excited when we got to do an ad rep for a honey badger wear shifter romance.
Yeah, usually we get perfectly good books, but they're about cowboys or whatever.
And that's not our brand. We are nonsense. So we are going to get a copy of Breaking Badger, and it's going to be one of our Patreon specials. It's going to be our October trick or treat. So if you're a Patreon member, you can listen to our review of Breaking Badger, and one of you will win a copy of it. You can get, if you're not a Patreon member, you can go and get your copy and be sure that you do of Shelly Lawrenson's Breaking Badger wherever you buy your books.
So I hear that you found some honey badger zoological facts.
Oh, yes. I was totally ready to go in this with, stale honey badger jokes from 2011.
No, it wasn't that. It was
Yes, 2011, the honey badger YouTube video. If you're not aware, go and look, and honey badger
Yeah, if you were a fetus at the time, everybody was but us.
Well, anyway, honey badgers are fucking crazy. So, one thing, they're kind of like indestructible, wacky waver, inflatable tube men in that their skin is really, really loose and tough. So, dogs can't get, they can't be killed by dogs or machetes. The only way that you can kill them is with a club to the head or a bullet to the head. But they're very wily, so it's hard to get them. Essentially what happens
I sound like an uncut dick that just got legs.
Or those toys. You remember those ones?
Oh, yes.
Those little worm things.
They squirt. Oh, Lord.
So what happens if something grabs them? They just sort of out of it. They're also just assholes. They can break apart chicken coops. They'll just pull the planks off and they'll be like, I'm going to eat one chicken, but I'm going to kill all the rest of them. So we don't know a lot about honey badger mating. Maybe Shelly Lawrenson does. She's written a whole...
Maybe she just kind of filled in the gaps.
She wrote a whole honey badger chronicle about it. So those are my honey badger facts. And again, you need to go pick up your copy of Breaking Badger today.
Wherever books are sold.
On this episode, we read Janet Dailey's Ride the Thunder. Content warnings. This book is all about big game trophy hunting. It also features a very graphic hunting scene where a bighorn sheep is killed and also skinned, so that is a little bit upsetting. The book also features a very strange father-daughter relationship. You really can't put your finger on it, but it feels weird.
Yeah, I think he's putting his finger on it too much. I think that's it's the kind of scene where he puts a necklace on her and it's just a little too, I mean?
Yes, there's a lot of lingering touches that are for the plot, but they just sit.
They're gross.
Off.
We almost forgot, there is a mild ravishing.
Yes.
That is so we will explain it, but she's into it, but it's not great. It also has some kind of anti-sex worker business in it. The main character is completely fine with a part-time sex worker.
You can't be a pro-ho, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the Olympics. You have to have a veneer of amateur status before Brig can consider you an acceptable person. And he never pays for it anyway, which, by the way, not cool. It's not tipping. It's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, tip your local sex workers.
Yeah.
Pro or not.
Yes.
The book also has some ageism towards women. Our main character is very down on women over a certain age, no matter what they do. If they try to look younger or if they just let themselves go, either way, if you're not young, he doesn't want to take you seriously.
There are, however, some quite the opposite, like anti-trigger warnings. You're pretty sure, like reading this book, that one of the horses is going to die. They don't. They do shoot and kill that ram, but it's not a ram that you care about. The ram that you care about's okay. And to my vast amazement, this book is written in 1980, and it has a gay character who is not comic relief. He's not an evil vizier trying to take over a palace, and he lives through the book.
Yes. So really what you're buckling up for is gross mustache business and a lot of like being in Idaho.
Yeah.
So
will she ride the thunder?
Or won't she? I'm not riding any kind of thunder.
Well, frankly, I just thought it was a metaphor for a fart. You know, like somebody wrote the thunder in here.
It's like Thunder Road, whenever they would ride it backwards at Carowitz. That's a deep cut. That's for all my
That is a deep cut, but I like it brought back a memory. I don't even do roller coasters, but I remember that being like the big myth is that sometimes they would run it backwards.
No, they did.
Oh, they did?
They did. Because, yeah, again, if you grew up in Fort Mill, it's 2 minutes away, and we all had season passes, and occasionally they would run it backwards.
Oh, well, that's very exciting.
It was very exciting. So, hey, y'all. How's everybody?
Well, we finally had some cooler weather, but I think it was a lie. I think we're right back.
I know. You know what we're in? We're in that first of false fall. Swamp ass here lasts until November.
I've mowed the lawn for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're still in full swamp ass. So that's basically, I think, where everybody is swamp ass. That's where the meter is. Yeah. So today we are drinking Alamos. It is an Argentinian wine, a Malbec, and I got it because our main character is a mercenary, but unlike previous mercenaries that we've had, he didn't, just operate in the country of Central America. He actually went to all the countries of Central America, and so we was like, you know what, Central South America, let's do.
It also has a mountain on the yes. label, which is very much like what this is about. I just got the most on sale wine they had at Publix because I was like in a big hurry, so I just can't.
This book doesn't deserve fun wine.
That's true. It doesn't. Oh, my goodness. So, Ride the Thunder.
This is Janet Dailey, and as Sarah already said, this is from 1980. Now, Janet Dailey she passed away in 2013, and she has been active since the 70s. She has done a lot of these kind of Western books, and I think it has to do with her upbringing. She was born in Iowa. She lived all over kind of that, like, the central to Western Plains. She settled in Branson. She loved Branson. She loved Branson. And how she got into writing is like in 1974, she told her husband, who was a good 15 years older than her, that she could write better romance novels than, what was being published. And I was like, well, there's like 4 at that time. So, yeah.
And does she mean Kathleen Woodowitz? Because, yes.
Yeah.
But your dog can write a better romance than...
So, she had a little bit of trouble getting books out at first because a lot of people didn't want to, and it's something that Nora Roberts also went through, is that a lot of people didn't want, they're like, well, we've got our one American author. Everybody wants this, like, British stuff, So, she made a name for herself. She got, she has very well known. People know.
Yeah, you know what else she experienced that Nora Roberts experienced?
Yeah.
Writing the same book. Janet Dailey is most famous for plagiarizing, of all people, Nora Roberts. That yes. obscure author.
That super obscure author. And when that happened, I believe it happened in 1997. And then after that happened, she was, she took a break. 2001, she came back to Kensington. And, a couple of her books were made into movies. And she passed away fairly young. She passed away only at 69 in 2013.
Probably Nora Roberts did it.
Yeah, and Branson. I don't trust anybody that thinks that Branson is like God's country.
Absolutely not.
Branson.
Absolutely not.
This is our first Janet Dailey, and the book that we have, Sarah was able to get the OG cover, and it's glorious.
It's the most amazing step back I have ever seen.
I love everything about this book cover. So the very front has Ride the Thunder in the very big romance novel gilded font, and it's got a little cutout with our hero and heroine, and the colors are like all blues and purples and greens. So it's very much a Courtney jam. And then you open it up, and the step back is fantastic.
It's 2 pages. I've never seen a 2-page step back.
So we have our heroine with her boobs that are obviously augmented in this picture.
Yes.
Our hero, who looks like Chris Christopherson, but an ugly version of Chris Christopherson.
An uglier version of Chris Christopherson?
You need to step back off of Chris Christopherson. There'll be a fight. We've got a couple of scenes of them in the mountains, but the best part of it is that it's very, very elaborate. It's a really pretty, beautifully painted cover or step back, but in smack dab the middle, it looks like when somebody is first learning like how to do like a PowerPoint, and they just drop that square. That square block image?
Yeah.
In the middle is, like, these 2, like, big horn rams. And it's like, hey, guys, we're part of the book, too. And I am obsessed with the whole thing.
Yeah, it is the most amazing painted cover we have ever seen. It is so great.
It's beautiful. And we'll make sure we're definitely going to have multiple pictures.
Because you can't see that here, I can read the... The back cover. From the driving power of Manhattan's penthouses to the high, wild beauty of Idaho's mountains, a love story that rides the thunder. I'm telling you, it's about farts. Jordana Smith was the wild and willowy daughter, that means skinny, of a prominent banker and a glamorous socialite, a globe-trotting huntress who shot. I mean, it works okay because it saw it, but she also shot it. The world's big game at her father's side. No man was her father's equal in her eyes until the night she met the rugged stranger who, in one frenzied and exalted moment, tapped the roots of a desire she had never known. Fleeing to Idaho to join her father's hunting party. Fleeing what? She hoped to forget the bronze stranger's fiery touch, but there he was, her stranger, their guide, Brig McCord. Their days were filled with the wild beauty of the hunt, their nights with the primitive fire of their passion, but soon their idyll was shattered by jealousy, betrayal, and murder. Now Jordana would have to face the hidden truths about her father and her brother, and a secret that had already claimed one life and threatened to destroy her newfound love.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so that's not, except for the fleeing part, that's pretty much the book. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, episode over. No, so this book was bananas, and I don't know. I feel like this is a good Sarah plot one.
Oh boy, okay, because there's a lot that happens in this book. First, let me introduce you to our hero, Brig McCord. That's right, Brig McCord. Brig McCord.
It is short for Brigham. We do find that out later.
Yeah, but they're not Mormons. I don't know.
He might be. Like, if he's in Idaho, there might be a chance.
I don't know. But, okay, so he's got a wild fucking backstory. He's a rancher in Idaho. Like, the ranch is so remote that you cannot drive a truck to it, which makes me have a lot of questions about how they run this ranch. But anyway, so Brig McCord is thinking about his past as he, looks along his ruined ranch, which he's out of money and needs to beg for help with.
From the, there was super blizzards and stuff, and his cat, a late blizzard that took out, most of his calves.
Yeah, so he's in desperate straits, but he's thinking about how things have been worse. Namely, when he was a kid, he was a 9-year-old, and he and his parents were in a plane wreck, and he was a lone survival, and he had to, hatchet his way, through the world for at least 2 months in the Idaho wilderness. And then he found a shepherd, but don't worry, the shepherd didn't have a cell phone or whatever and couldn't lead the sheep. So they still had to hang out in the Idaho wilderness for further months before anybody rescued anybody.
It's so wild because he's just he bought the land that his family's plane crashed on, and it's just there's the crash from my parents' side, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
here it is, good times. Good times.
I mean, maybe it really lowered the value, and therefore he was able to get it for real cheap.
That could be it.
That's a smart move.
I did hear this story. I'm already going off book. I'm going to be that one today. I heard this. I don't know where I heard it. I heard this story about this woman that survived a plane crash.
Oh, is this the one in the Amazon? And she walked out with her broken arm?
Yes. And it was really interesting because basically,
like a teenager.
The plane fell apart at 1,000 feet. But it did make me feel better because I always think about that Hawaiian flight.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know.
And I always worry about that woman that did get sucked out. But the girl said that she blacked out.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, that's a small reef. But she blacked out, and basically the tree canopy, cushioned her fall, and, she did land and had a broken arm, but she,
just walked out. She walked out of the fucking Amazon.
She did after several weeks, though. So Brig McCord was basically that lady.
Yeah, but he was nowhere near as cool as a teenage girl. No. He was Brig McCord.
Sorry, that was the first.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
First segue.
But then, okay, so after that, so you would think that this is going to place something other than just wilderness survival into this book. You'd be wrong.
That was that got dropped.
Yeah, he also grew up to be like a fucking soldier of fortune mercenary.
Yeah,
and all up and down. They actually use the name of real countries in this, unlike many of the books that we read. They didn't make one up.
It's like you don't even learn how he got the training for it or whatever.
Yeah, he's just like a mercenary.
And then, hey, I like killing things.
Things went wrong, and he quit doing that. So that's Brig McCord's backstory.
You do find out that Brig at first, because you're kind of like, all right, Brig's all right, because he only hunts what he needs to hunt.
Yeah. So he'll see amazing game and be like, hello, pretty animal, I don't need you today.
Yeah, or just be like, hey, you're beautiful, but you're not for need, you're not for necessity.
Yeah. He's okay in terms of sustainability.
Yes. He's a sustainable farmer.
Yeah.
But he's also broke as shit.
Yeah. And so he knows he needs to go, and you don't know exactly what's going on, but it's about to become clear he needs to go beg family for money. But before he does that, he stops off in town where his now we read another book, Fancy Pants, that called these women semi-hookers. So there's this lady, Trudy, and she owns the bar, and he likes to think that she's only a part-time. I think she probably just has 2 full-time jobs, but, she doesn't even make him pay. Like, Trudy, get it to fucking together, Trudy.
You know what? I'm already taking umbrage with the thing. I think Trudy probably just, does the thing, and if people want to leave her money, it's fine.
It's her art.
Yeah, I don't know. Trudy might have been my favorite character.
Yeah, Trudy is great. Trudy is has a lot of emotional EQ.
Yeah.
Trudy gets her to actually open up. I'm sorry. Trudy gets Brig to open up a lot. She'll be like, I've never asked you about this scar, and he'll act like he's not gonna say anything, but then he does. Trudy is just she's getting a little older and a little saggier.
Trudy is the context pussy.
Yes.
She makes him provide us context.
Yes.
And through Trudy's pussy, you find out, that, he is broke and he is having to go to New York City.
New York City?
He's got to go to New York City to talk to his cousin and get some money because his ranch is about to go under.
So his grandfather evidently had all the money and the 5 and dime stores or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and left it equally to him and his cousin Max. So he has to tell regretfully Trudy, and the thing is he is all about Trudy in this beginning scene.
Yes.
He is he wants to fuck that. So just keep that for reference, because once he gets some of that young
Trudy is 32.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not
32.
Not that it would be okay if she were older, but she's not.
I mean, I do know that 1980s 32 is 1970s Walter Matthau.
But this is also Idaho 32.
But it's taking the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Walter Matthau is an action star. I'm here for it, but it's a very distinctive taste. So he goes next stop. We're in New
York City.
And it's very the cowboy way. He's in a green leisure thing.
But the thing is, it's Western cut, and people are stopping to stare at him in the street. Honey, New Yorkers don't give a fucking rat's ass about your leisure suit. Move on.
I was seeing way more wild shit.
Maybe there's a naked guy behind him.
Especially 1980s.
My God.
Before, fucking, Giuliani threw all the homeless away. They were wilding out.
Yes. No, you are not worth looking at in Times Square, Brig McCord.
Yeah.
But so it's really clear that, you don't really know what's going on, but you know that he and his cousin hate each other's guts. And so he goes up, and it's this whole, this very, late 70s, early 80s, everything is white and modern and office, and, Brig just hates it because you obviously don't work at that desk. He asks Max for the money, and Max is like, honey, I ain't got it. We're about to go under.
Yeah. He's like, but I do have a mark. I have a plan. He's like, it's this guy named Fletcher. And his plan is to, sell the company to Fletcher before Fletcher knows, that the company is
There's
bad.
been, a secret audit that Max did, and it hasn't gotten out to the shareholders yet, so he has, a window.
And, he asks Brig Brig comes along with him to this, party. First they go to lunch, and you find out that Fletcher is really into hunting. And the book, before we start with Brig, has this kind of like little foreword where it's a young girl, her brother, the girl named Jordana, her brother Kit, and their father all hunting a deer. And the brother, like, he shoots the deer, but he misses, and he takes a bad shot. He shoots the deer in the stomach, and then they have to stalk it. And, you know, when the brother gets up to the deer and sees, like, deer eyes, he can't finish it off because, one, he's, like,
7, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, also, like, looking at a baby, like, looking at deer eyes are, like, oh, jeez.
So he throws up and...
But the girl's like, I'm on it. I've got it. So that's setting us up for our heroine and her father. So they go to lunch with this guy, Fletcher, and you find out, like, Fletcher has already put Max on the pay no mind list, but he's intrigued by Brig, and when Brig says that he lives in Idaho, Fletcher's like, oh, that is the home of the bighorn sheep, the most elusive of the 4 North American sheep, and I've got all 3 of them but this one. And, you know, he basically makes Brig an offer he can't refuse because Brig can't get the money from Max, but he's like, hey, this snooty motherfucker is going to give me like $25,000 to kill 1 sheep. All right, let's do it.
And then the other important thing that happens is, I think it's like after the meeting.
They go to that party.
Well, no, it's before this. Brig sees Fletcher with who he assumes is his mistress because they're coming down like out of a penthouse apartment or something. And it's this beautiful, well, at the beginning it says redheaded woman, but for the entire rest of this book, it says that she's got like my hair color where it looks brown until it's like, you know, in the right light. And then it's like, it sparks out red highlights. So,
yeah.
Who knows? But, and sees him and just like makes the assumption that that's his expensive mistress.
Yeah. It's all on him.
Yeah.
And so some interesting things that happen is we get Jordana's perspective, and, you know, she's gone out clubbing. Her and her mom do not get along at all. She's got a brother, Kit, that she just doesn't understand. She goes to Kit's house to, like, bring a housewarming gift, and there's a guy, Mike, who answers the door. And
we should say now that Jordana is about as sharp as a bag full of wet hair.
I want to say she's about 23, 24.
She lives in New York City.
Yeah, but she's so dumb.
And she has no idea that this guy, she's like, wow, my brother Kit must be really, really serious about only living off of his own money if he got a roommate.
Yeah, Kit is a fashion designer. But, you know, so she goes and she's like, here's this fancy modern art I don't understand. And this perfectly, like, amazingly pleasant man, Mike, opens the door. He's like, hey, you want to hang out and, like, we'll have margaritas and we'll wait for, Kit. And she's like, no, that sounds terrible. I was like, that sounds amazing. Yeah. That's what I want this whole book to be.
So instead she, like, goes out clubbing and she bangs some dudes and whatever. But then, like, so they're all going to come together at this party at, like, the Fletcher residence. Penthouse. So, of course, her mom is, like, you know, all about the party and everything, looking right. And her mom is very done. Like, her mom has had a lot of plastic surgery and has, you know, a different dress for everything. And obviously we're supposed to be in complete contempt of the mom.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of Trudy, but still wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, and Jordana just doesn't care as much about clothes, but she's going to wear a dress that Kit has designed for her. And, like, before the whole thing starts, there's, like, all this, like, you know, fighting. Her mom slaps her, like, because she makes this mean-ass crack about,
she does, like, come hard for the mom.
Yeah, oh, yeah, like, she's a little bitch, but she makes this mean crack about how, like, oh, I read the whole book, not the Reader's Digest condensed version, and that's when she gets slapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that, all right? And so, whereas Kit's, like, more on the mom side, which is why Jordana doesn't understand her, and meanwhile, Fletcher is just, like, you know, brooding in his office full of dead head things and the bearskin rug. Which, I mean, anytime it's not even like a foreshadowing. If you see a bearskin rug, somebody's going to fuck on it, right? That's all they're for, right?
And the dad's, like, very showing his daughter off, kind of like that gross. You know, like, it's gross.
Look at this object of mine.
Yeah. And so Brig and Max go to this party, and Brig sees Jordana for the second time.
Nobody introduces anybody to anybody. Like, what are these rude-ass people?
Jesus. And so, like, he is just skulking the fuck around. He's just skulking. And, like, Jordana has been talking to her dad in their shrine to dead animals room. And you know, like, oh, this is the one place we can come and relax and look at all the fucking things that we killed. And
there's one of those, like, he gives her
here's your jade necklace. And,
but I mean, like, the weird, like, you know, the way that he puts it on her neck. I mean, if the fact is that Brig sees that through the window and thinks that that's his mistress still, then that means that, like, you need to be a little more hands-off with your daughter, you know?
Gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Brig just walks in and doesn't even say anything to her. Like, is like, hey. And then, like, lops the necklace in his hand, is like, he's like, I can make a garrote out of this and kill you.
And she's like, oh, fuck me.
And then, like, they basically fuck it out on the bearskin rug. And then
he says these mean things to her about...
Flash forward to, like, 2 weeks later when they're on the shitty farm.
He's already saying mean things to her. Like, they just had sex. Yeah. And she's asked for help with the zipper of her dress.
Like,
and he's like, you have a lot of problems with that, don't you? Like, whoa! Because she thinks that she's like... He thinks that she's like an unfaithful mistress. Like, he should fucking talk. Oh, my God. And so then he leaves, and so he never finds out. But, like, flash forward, and guess what? That's his daughter.
And there's this really awkward scene because when, like, she first shows up to the hunting thing, like the camp, he's like, I'm not taking a woman, but I didn't want to take a woman. And, you know, Fletcher's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is she comes all the time. And he's like, I don't care. And he's like, this is my, and then I think it's basically, she finally is like, oh my God, he thinks I'm your mistress. And nobody is like, about it. They're just like,
oh, well, that's an understandable mistake.
Or like, oh God, that's so gross. Or because can you imagine? Like, if somebody had said, hey, I think you're this, if somebody had made that accusation about my father and me, I would have burned your ranch down on principle.
First, I would have taken a silkwood shower.
I would have been like, you know what? The only like possible thing to make this right is ranch burn.
Yeah,
like I'm burning this.
What's wrong with you? You fucking pervert. What the
Yeah. So like it was and then so after but
long story short,
literally hours after that gets cleared up, Brig is basically dragging her into the bedroom, or like going into the bedroom in front of everybody.
Yeah, it's weird and gross. Like, he doesn't care if anybody notices this. The thing is that is so weird about this whole thing is that she's like, yeah, I'm a hunter. But that now they have to make all these weird arrangements for the entire rest of the trip. And it's really just so that she and Brig have a place to fuck. Yeah. But, like, she does not need an extra tent, you guys. I mean, like, you can be in a tent with other people.
She could also be in the tent with her father and her brother.
Well, maybe not. I don't
know. Like,
so the people who have decided to come... Max has invited himself.
Yes.
And Kit's decided to come, and there's something a little squirrely about it.
Yes.
Like, So, like, Max has invited himself because he wants an opportunity to sell Fletcher on this, like, deal by the company. And Kit, you're not sure why he's come, but it's something shady, something shifty. So you're concerned about, like, what's going on there. And then, of course, Johanna is completely oblivious to all of this because she is a fucking dingbat. So, like... Long story short, the only thing that really happens other than the fucking at the ranch that matters is, like, Max almost sits on a rattlesnake and Brig has to bam shoot it real quick. So that's like weird thing that happens to Max. And then so Brig like just walks into, it's his bedroom, but she's staying in it because she's the lady. And they have sex, which is fine. And then in the morning, like, they wake up, and he's like, let's do it fuck again. And she's like, everybody's awake, and also, like, my dad's here. And he's like, I decide when we have sex. And that's, like, the gross ravishing thing, because she enjoys it, but I did not like it at all. But they leave. They fucking leave to go shoot this goddamn sheep. And they're going to be in the mountains for at least 2 weeks. And so there's a lot of sheep stalking and lots of weather, and this is actually all really well done. Like this stuff is like, it's exciting, it's like, it's riveting, it's good. But they always had to have a little extra tent for Jordana, which of course is where Briggs, goes into fucker, and he does not care that her dad knows, like, right in front of him, and it's uncomfortable making. Okay, yeah, it's not like his dad. I mean, like, obviously it shouldn't be like his property or whatever, but like, I don't know, the whole thing is just kind of gross.
This motherfucker keeps mishearing conversations. And so at one point he does hear, like, Jordana's dad was like, hey, you feeling weird with the guy? And she's like, yeah. He's like, just try being nice to him. And then after they fuck, he's like, I didn't mean to be that nice to him. You know, and like they have this conversation, but then of course fucking Brig hears like the tail end of it. So he is convinced that Jordana's dad put her up to fucking him.
The whole thing is just amazing.
Yeah, it's upsetting. So we have like during the whole like sheep stalking thing, we have a couple of Max near misses. Like, I mean,
these people are doing incredibly irresponsible shit in the mountains. Okay,
like obviously, like Max almost gets rattlesnaked, and then he almost
falls off a cliff.
He almost falls off a cliff, but Brig saves him, and then Jordana is able to, like, she's able to kill a big horn sheep, but
not quite as big as the one her dad wants to kill.
Her dad's been stalking this one, so she kills it, and then she comes out, you know, like, her and Brig, or, like, she skins it, and, you know.
He's actually finally kind of impressed. They're like, oh, you really did know how to hunt
and then, like, you know, their cook, Jocko, like, is like, hey, let's eat this, like, because, again, and we'll get it, yeah. So, you know, he's sort of, like, he's impressed by her capabilities and stuff. But then what happens is, like, all these weird things with Fletcher and Max keep happening, where Fletcher is like, oh, Max, yeah, like, horses keep losing shoes. Like, the horse that Jordana was riding lost a shoe, and then the horse that Max was riding lost a shoe. And
frankly, Brig he's not paying 100% attention.
He's like, he's accusing his old salt, like, cowboy that I think is like the shepherd that found him or some shit. And he's
don't think so, but I wondered that too. But I think it was just a clumsy sentence.
So it was just, you know, he's like, fine, boy, don't believe me. And, you know, like, all these things are adding up.
And it's getting to the point now where it's always a thing every time they go out to hunt, who's going and who's staying behind. I think because she knows that, like, well, for one thing, you read the back of the book. So you know that somebody's going to do some murder most foul to somebody. Yes. You just don't know who it is and why, necessarily.
And Kit is very conscientious about where Max is at all times. So you're like, what's happening? And so finally what happens is Max's horse, which is Max has no trail riding experience or anything. He's got, like, the sweet horse, the little pinto,
but that one throws a shoe.
Yeah. So he gets put on this crazy horse, Jughead. And, like, Jughead, they're out in the fields. And what happens is, like, before he gets on Jughead, Fletcher's like, oh, let me check your saddle for you. Oh, God, that's fine. I'll check everything. And they're out riding, and, of course, they're on a cliff. And all of a sudden, the horse just freaks the fuck out. And you're like, ah. It is very harrowing. It's like some man from Snowy River, like, horse on a cliff business.
And there's nothing anyone can do because they're riding very single file.
Yes.
So they can't get back to
the
him.
The horse, like, spooks and, like, goes half off the cliff. It throws Max, and Max is kind of hanging on, but then the horse is, like, doing that thing where it's, like, you know, just, like, kind of being in place and getting its footing. And when it gets its footing, it's pushing rocks, and the rocks eventually push Max off the edge of the cliff.
It's very well described. I mean, it is. And
like, talk about like
dead.
Max's, like, fear and all this stuff. It's upsetting.
So they're all a little, like, chastened, and they go back to camp. They had to recover the body and everything. And Brig finally catches the horse, and he sees. He's like, this is weird. Like, he
had a big scratch on it.
Yeah, like, not just, like, where he would have gotten it from, like, but under where the blanket would be, and then he finds a big thorn in the blanket. So, obviously, he's doing, like, the math in his head, and he knows that Fletcher killed him.
Yeah. So, they have to go back to town to take Max's body, and they have to, like, arrange for Max.
I'm shocked Fletcher didn't be like, what, we're going to kill that fucking ram first, right?
Well, yeah,
He'll keep, it's cold.
Like, I was really surprised about that, too. So, they go back to town, and, like, Brig has convinced himself that it's like a family plot. Like, that the whole family is in on it. They are all part of it.
Which, I mean, is not an unreasonable thing for him to think. No. Because these people are obviously fucking weird. And also, so, I mean, he's like, okay, I'll call a team meeting. And, like, it's kind of a contentious team meeting. But, like, he talks to Fletcher alone and it's like, I know, this is yours and I know it. And so Fletcher makes it real clear, like, so it turns out that if Max dies, then Brig gets all the shares of the company. Yeah. So there is, in other words, he's like, yeah, if you want to go to the authorities, I'm going to tell them you did it.
Yeah.
And Brig is like, oh, well, I have no answer to that. I do not know what to do because I am the world's worst mercenary.
And while that's happening is you find out, like, Christopher / Kit had to call his mom, him and Jordana's mother, and tell her about Max.
And she's real upset.
Real upset. And
well, I mean, anybody with two eyes at the party earlier knows that they were having
an affair. They know that, Max and, the mom are having an affair. And again, Jordana's like, oh, everybody blames Daddy for everything, and Daddy's so perfect. And Christopher's like, bitch, open your eyes. So, Brig and Fletcher, when the kids come back after making the bar phone call to tell their mom that her lover is dead, Brig is like, hey, we still got to go get your bighorn sheep, don't we?
And everybody's like, what?
And Fletcher's like, yeah, we do.
Yeah, and so I thought surely at this point, well, Brig must have arranged some kind of dead drop.
He is a mercenary. You would think that he'd have a fucking plan.
But no.
No plan. So they go back out, at first it was going to just be Brig and Fletcher. Mano a mano. And then Jordana's like, well, I'm going too. And then Kit's like, well, fuck, I'm going too.
Yeah, because Kit doesn't want his father to kill again.
Yeah. And so they go back out into the woods. And before they go, fucking Brig is really awful to Jordana. Really just awful. And she's like, what? She tells him that she loves him. And he's like, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for you. There's
this whole scene where she's warming up some milk to because she can't sleep. And he's such an asshole. Well, first of all, he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm warming up some milk. And then she drops a glass and there's blood everywhere.
But he's still ugh. He's so cold toward her, and he's like, you're such a good actress, blah, 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 blah. And she's like,
and she doesn't even know what he's talking about because he won't just say, I know that your father killed Max.
Yes. He's like, it's really maddening. He is such a romance hair.
The guy who won't explain himself. That's this guy, 100%.
So we go out we're back in Idaho mountains. We're back in the mountains. And we're, stalking this bighorn. And Christopher is making sure to be, in close proximity to his father at all times. And then Jordana hears her dad talking to Christopher just super fucking ugly. Super ugly.
Yeah, and he's like, well, he's going to leave you, right? He's going to kick you out of that apartment. And fucking Jordana, the dumbest, how do you have anti-gaydar? Afterwards, he's like, well, I don't understand why Daddy would say that. Doesn't he know you're on the lease? And then Kit's like, you dumb fuck. Are you serious? Are you honest to God gonna tell me that you didn't know I'm gay? And she's like, no. And so he comes out to her, and it's a sweet scene. And they hug, and that's it. That's it. You're like, oh, you're my brother. That's literally it. And then the hilariously, and he's like, oh, well, I'm so glad we had this talk. And then, her next thought is, well, no, that was over. She could go back to thinking about Brig.
Yeah. So her and Brig and her dad are on the mountain. A fog comes in.
Kit has, broken his ankle.
Oh, yeah. He got a twisted ankle. He is with Jocko and Tandy, the two other,
the others,
ranch hands. And a fog comes in, and all of a sudden, Kit and Brig and Jordana are kind of separated, and all of a sudden somebody just starts firing at them. And Jordana's like, what? I think she thought that the sheep had, mounted a counterattack.
Well, I mean, they should have, quite frankly. Maybe those are her nightmares. When she goes to bed, all she can imagine is the wildlife arming itself.
So, she's like, what's happening? And Brig's like, you bitch, you put me in a,
you lured me down here,
You set me up.
She's not smart enough to do any of the things that he thinks that she's doing,
so
ever.
They go on the run, and, as people do in these books, they find he's been shot in the leg. But, he's losing blood. It's very cold. Things are happening. But they find a miner's cabin.
Yeah, he knows these woods like the back of his hand.
He is basically useless at this point. Mm-hmm. Jordana, it is very good, competency crush kind of stuff. She undresses him, she dresses his wound, she makes sure there's a fire, she does all this stuff. But they wake up the next day, and he's sort of feverish, and he's like, first I gotta fuck, and then I'm gonna accuse you of things.
Yeah. So they do danger bang.
They danger bang, but then he's like, you knew what your father was doing. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like,
she still thinks we have to go save Daddy.
Yeah. He's like, what, you were in cahoots. And he finally tells her that his theory about, Fletcher killing Max, which is not a theory, but she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, I mean,
he confessed to him of no, it's later.
Yeah, but I mean, like, also like
the motive.
But he's mad that she won't believe him.
He won't believe her for love and money. Yeah,
but like he's been a dirtbag to her for like most of the book. But like, she's not immediately accepting your theory. So they go back and forth, and they go back on the move, and Fletcher's still out there, and basically Brig's like, okay, Jordana, you go, I'll be fine.
Like, you go get the horses. I'm gonna stay up here because he can't move very fast and all. And they don't know where Fletcher is, and they know that Jocko's gonna start looking for Brig at some point. And I'm thinking, well, Fletcher's gonna kill Jocko if you don't look out. But like nobody thinks about that or cares about that.
I was like, Fletcher's not gonna kill her. So he's like, go. There's like a bunch of like.
Well, he's sure about that, but I wasn't sure about that. I was thinking that maybe Jordana wasn't really his daughter, and that he was going to kill her and Kit because, like, maybe they were the product of cuckoldry.
So they,
that's not what happened.
She gets back to camp and she finds Christopher, and she's like, "Oh, oh God, let me tell you about my harrowing experience." And then she's like, "Ha ha ha! Enough about me. How's your foot?" And he's like, "It's fine. What's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, can you believe the craziest thing that Brig said? He thinks that Daddy had Max killed." And he's like,
"Yeah, that's why I came with you guys."
Yeah, we'll unpack that later. But he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Shit, he knows. Like, we got to do stuff." She's like, What? And then she's like, she starts unpacking. And she's like, "Well, now it you know what, Kit? It makes a lot of sense."
Well, I don't remember if it's Kit who says it or if it's Fletcher who says it later. Obviously that she had a million lovers. Olivia, right, is the mother. But then, like, this is the one that, like, they've been together a long time. They were going to run away.
Yeah.
And of course, Fletcher had her completely under his thumb and controlled.
You find out that, like, after she gave birth to Jordana, like, you find out Livy couldn't have any more kids, so he moves her out of his bedroom and is basically like, "Well, you can't leave me, but
I don't want you, but nobody else is allowed to have you."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so,
and the consequences to you if you leave. Yeah, you can go, but all your friends will hate you. I will ruin you.
Yeah, and Jordana's like, "Well, I never knew." And Christopher's like, "Yeah, bitch, I've been trying to tell you."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, not that Olivia is some fucking prize pig. Olivia is a soap opera, cold as shit bitch. She's all right, but
anyway, we'll unpack Olivia a little bit later. I love to say we'll unpack things later, but I'm a little bit team Olivia on things. But so what happens then is, like, Jordana and Kit go out looking for Fletcher and Brig.
And they have the horses. So the idea is hopefully they can just get Brig and then they can run back to town. But they know that Fletcher is out there somewhere, and he is a very skilled hunter and stalker. So.
Right. So they go out, and there's this big...
And the second she left, there's a gunshot. Like, Brig is being hunted now, and of course he can't run very well. And then what he's done is, like, draw Fletcher out to explain... everything. Fletcher's got a lot to talk
I'm gonna get the confession that I can't get recorded, but we're gonna get the confession. And, like, there's just, like, this weird stalking scene of, like, Fletcher being like, I was this close to getting away with it if it hadn't been for your meddling mustache.
Yep. And then so Jordana finally actually sees, because she has to see it, and then you get the feeling, like, I think that, like, really she wanted Kit to have to kill his father, but then they didn't have the nerve. Like, I almost wonder if the publisher's like, nah, we ain't doing that. So there has to be one of those things where, in romance novels, like, many trees have fallen on people in books we've read. This time it's a rock slide.
Yeah, I think. Well, it was funny because, like, at first Kit had the gun, and then she grabbed it, and she was shooting around him. Like, she shot down at his, like, she was like, "Don't,
dance, motherfucker."
Yeah, like, leave Brig alone. And I think, like, that triggered this, like, rock slide. And then this book ends so fucking abruptly.
Yes. Like, he's dead, and that's it. It's on the same page. Like, then he was dead.
We'll get through it together.
Yeah, that's it. Which I kind of like a book that does that. I don't appreciate the epilogue where the lady's pregnant. I don't need a pregnancy thing, but I need, like, like another line about, and then they went home, and then everybody was cleared of all charges.
That he's not a complete shitbag. Or something.
But he is a complete shitbag, so,
That's true. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
So that is the plot of Ride the Thunder.
Yeah, and nobody wrote any thunder in this.
There's no thunder.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there was some at, like, there was, like, a tent fuck scene.
Oh, yeah, there was. And there's a lot of snow, which I do appreciate, like a...
Yeah, thunder snow. You like a thunder snow?
I remember once, like, you know, you used to watch on the Weather Channel Local on the 8s, and it was like 100 degrees outside, but something got a wire crossed at the National Weather Service, and so it was like, thunder snow! There's thunder snow! I'm like, really?
That's so funny.
It's July. All right. Question time. Big dick energy or big dick energy?
Okay, for me, Brig goes into that category of romance hero that I just have no time for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like him. I don't enjoy him. He's, you know what, and it's the thing that we've talked about repeatedly on here. This is a book that is tell, not show. And any of his change is like this verbal weird, like, nothing really has transpired. These people have never had a conversation with one another.
And hilariously, when he does talk to her, he talks to her like in this like florid romance style.
It's awful.
Like this Sir, we're in a Wendy's style, you know? I can't find a good example just flipping through it. But yeah, he says nothing unless he's saying, you know, I hate how you've stolen my heart. Your breasts in the morning. Like, what the fuck? Calm your tits, baby. You know, I liked him at the beginning, though, when we first met the guy, and we were seeing him in his normal life, and we were seeing it through his perspective. Most of the book is not through his perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
It was much more interesting at the beginning than before he got all tied up in fucking Jordana. Jordana made everybody more boring.
The biggest dick in this book is Christopher /Cat. Like,
yes.
He was much more compelling. I want to know more about him and his partner, Michael. Like, I was into that. I think he was the much more actualized character. Like, you had a much better feel about him.
And I mean, he was so brave because, I mean, he had to think that it is possible that his father might shoot him too. I mean, yeah, because his father clearly despises him for being gay. You know, and I really thought that it was going to be maybe a plot point that, like, especially Kit, maybe not Jordana, but Kit was another man's son, and that like Kit was going to be up on the chopping block. So I mean, this is a guy who tried to save an almost stranger's life.
When he comes out to Jordana, he says, like, you know, what I told Dad a few years ago, it was basically like, you can't tell anything to your sister, I'll just disown you. You know? So, yeah. He was awesome.
Yeah, whereas, like, Brig is just...
No, Brig sucks.
And he treated Trudy really shitty. We didn't talk about this. When he gets back after his New York trip, he goes back and he tries to forget Jordana within the crepey and pudgy folds of Trudy. And Trudy's like, you know, I'm not stupid. I can tell there's something going on with you, okay?
Yeah.
Like, and he, like, now that he's seen that big city pussy, he can't go back to that Idaho pussy. No. The good thing is, happily, Trudy has, like, another suitor, and she's like, I think I might marry, like, Jimmy over there. And he's like, that'd be a good idea. Like, yeah, I think so, too. Because I don't think anybody deserves you, Brig.
Oh, my God, yeah. I hated Brig so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, he's just that boring, like, what people wrote for a romance hero that
like,
has
that's what they think an alpha's like that's not.
Oh, he's
you know?
I hated him.
Like, he's just so pushy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you talk shit with or about the heroine?
Oh, fuck Jordana.
Can I guess this is where my thing with this book would go. I did not enjoy this book at all because I don't like this weird trying to make big game hunting for trophy a thing. Like, here's the thing. Caveat. I understand that, like, hunting sport, especially hunting sport for me, is a thing that we need. I understand that, like, we
shot all the wolves, so somebody's got to shoot the deer now.
But no, it's that. But I do understand that real hunters, like people who are real hunters, are wildlife conservationists. I know that, like, the people who hunt in Colorado help bring the wild turkey population back from the brink. I get that. But those are people that hunt for meat.
Yeah.
There's something about these people that go and like see animals that the rest of us see in the zoo, but these people that can have the means to go and see them in the fucking wild, and what their base instinct, the thing that they want to do when they see that is fucking shoot it and kill it.
It's gross. It's
I
so gross.
hate it so much. And I could not and I think that you're supposed to have, there's a moment where Jordana has this pivot, which is weirdly about the cattle industry.
Yeah, it's weird.
Where she's like, well, we should maybe, like, because Kit is very anti-hunting, and he says in the thing, he's like, I think there should be a law. If you hunt it, you should have to eat its meat. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That is completely, like, what you should do.
Well, okay, so Jordana is, like, kind of, like, come to Jesus moment about hunting is clearly supposed to be her growing up. But really all it is, it's not Jordana growing up. It's Jordana coming along to Brig's way of thinking, which is not the same thing as growing up, okay?
No, it's
she just
not.
goes from one man who's her father to another man who's her husband. I know I told you about this once, but I'll tell it again. That one year I went to my family reunion, and it was held. I've told you about this because I remember talking about the most dangerous game, Dog Pack. It was held in this hunting lodge down in southwestern Georgia. And when I say there was a lot of taxidermy there, I know that whatever you're imagining is like, no. So much more than that. So much more than that. Like the entrance to the to where the bedrooms was like guarded by two like shoulder up giraffes. And I mean, I've never understood what kind of monster can shoot a giraffe. It's like a fucking cow. Okay, who the fuck shoots a giraffe? But like not just that. Like there's rhinos everywhere. I'm like, I hope those were taken when it was legal. There's like the fire, like the bench in front of the fire had 4 elephant feet, and the tail was like a little fire brush thing. I mean, like there was just dead flesh literally everywhere that you looked, and it was so stressful. Like you'd be sitting, I found like a chair out of the way of everybody to sit and read my book because I'm not a social person, and I looked over, then I go to turn the lamp on, and the lamp was full of dead quail. I mean, it was literally
I hate it so much.
everywhere. I hate it very much. The idea that you would go and kill a giraffe. Like, no, so we live in South Carolina, and if, because we killed all the wolves, if we were to not hunt white-tailed deer, they would all starve to death. It would be, yes.
But I mean, like, again, like my neighbor, who is a good friend of mine, like he is a hunter, but he is one of those guys that like he hunts. Like that's what he does. He hunts, but he hunts, he processes, he does his, like like for people who are serious hunters, for people who are really about sustainability and that kind of stuff, I do think that there is something important, and there is something that we all have to understand about, especially if you are a carnivore, if you eat meat, you have to understand that we live in boxes, we drive in boxes, we eat out of boxes, that there's a certain level of hypocrisy unless you've like seen or been part of like some kind of animal processing. But again,
that's not what these people are doing.
No.
In fact, they all say, "Oh, I've never eaten wild sheep."
Yes.
Yeah, these people who have killed 1 million wild sheep.
It's really upsetting. Or like, oh, I've never killed any of the things that I've hunted, which includes lions and includes all of these. I can't, no matter what Jordana does, because her basic like tenet, the thing that she loves is that when she goes and sees something fucking amazing in the wild,
let's go eat it. Not even eat it. No, let's just go kill it.
I want to kill it.
And I want to bring it home with
like,
me.
She keeps saying, like, it's not about the kill, it's about the hunt. Like, bitch, you can just go.
You can buy a camera.
Yeah, take a picture of it.
You know, it's really funny because, like, my dad, he enjoyed, well, he used to like to hunt, and I pitched a big fit about him killing Bambi when I was, like, 7, and then he didn't hunt anymore. Yeah. But, like, he enjoyed hunting and fishing, and I know for sure, and his friends did too, that they enjoyed being out in the woods drinking beer, and they enjoyed, being in nature, and they enjoyed the tracking things. Like, so why don't you just take a fucking camera?
Oh my God.
Because they didn't have any kind of rubric for enjoying the outdoors that did not come with a shotgun.
Yeah, so no matter any of her other, like, I will say that, like, she's great with her brother and that kind of stuff once he comes out to her.
There's not much there. She's one of those romance novel heroines.
I hated her.
There's just nothing there.
I hate, like, the whole, once we got into this, was when the main principle of this book was, like, big game trophy hunting, I was like, no, I'm done. So.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so ignore that. She's still terrible.
Yeah.
Because she's a non-person. And the funny thing is, okay, both she and Brig are these, like, bleh characters. Everybody else is interesting and you want to know more about them and their stories. But no, the two main characters. And that is not unique to this book.
No.
That happens relatively frequently in these books.
All the time. And I think it goes well with, like, Bechdel to bitch. Like, Jesus, no. Like, this is...
Well, it does not pass it because the only two female characters who ever interact are Jordana and her mother, and they're always talking about her dad.
And it's always in this young versus old. Me. I hated it. So
I do enjoy a good slap fight, though.
I like a good slap.
Yeah,
but like when
let's have a good slap fight.
Yeah. So, no, it does not pass it. There are no... Jordana has no friends. Like, she has nobody other... Like, it's terrible. I hate it.
Well, I think that is actually kind of on purpose because she is so wrapped up in her dad. And her entire identity is Daddy's little girl. Like, that is her whole thing. And, you know, it has to do, I'm sure, with the fact that, like, you know, her dad, like, put everything on his son and then was disappointed in his son. So, you know,
then,
she
like,
has to
she
be, like, more boy than the boy. Like that kind of thing. That's what's going on here. But it doesn't make her a more interesting character.
No. So, when it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye?
It's actually not bad except for that one scene.
Yeah.
And that one scene was bad. And there's a lot of, like, I hate you. Urgh, fuck me. You know, it's a lot of that stuff, which is, like, yeah, okay, like, consensual, but, like, not healthy.
Oh, these two are going to have, like, they're getting divorced in, like, 2 years. Like,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
going to pop out a couple kids, and once shit starts sagging, Brig is out. He's like, I'm done. I can't handle the way women's bodies naturally behave if they're not up and young and supple.
Yeah, yeah. But so there is that one scene, and that one scene to me was quite bad because literally she was embarrassed and she was saying, she wasn't like, she wasn't saying no for like whatever reason. She was saying no because like they can all hear us and my dad's here.
All they did was like fuck in front of her dad. It was so gross. It was so upsetting.
Now on the good side, her dad was actually pretty modern about it.
I guess.
Like he wasn't all like, my property. He was like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Just making sure because, you know, you got to make your own choices. So, I mean, that part was okay, but, you know.
I don't like it.
How badly are you judging your mama for reading this book?
I don't know. My grandmother would, like, be... This seems like one that she would have had. Like, you know, it seems very you know...
To me, it actually seems later than 1980.
Yeah.
It seems like it's probably a little forward-thinking. You know,
yeah, the sex, like, again, like, not the sex. The sex is very 1986, but, like, to have a gay character and to have a gay character that is not a caricature, not evil or whatever is really great. And, like, Janet Dailey, aside from, like, some light plagiarizing, you know, she did start, like, a scholarship for, like, she would give money to authors that, like, wrote about social issues and stuff.
And they do really talk about stuff here. Like, they talk about the hunting thing all the time. So they don't, lest you think that the hunting thing is, like, unexamined. It's not. They talk about it all the time.
Jordana changes her mind because her dad is basically like, oh, Idaho and other western states should just be turned into big game preserves where the rich can come and, like, just shoot animals.
And Brig is like, you know people have to fucking eat, right?
Yeah, and he, like, it is funny because
Brig about that.
Brig is, like, super into, like, what I enjoy. I'll talk more about my you know, background and writing a paper about Hey Up because we all enjoy that. But I did enjoy that a farm or a ranch is never considered this weird pastoral thing. Like, for what the thing that I liked is, like, that Brig, when he is going through and looking at his stock, his animals, he refers to it as his stock. He refers to it as his investment because we always treat farms or plantations or these things as this, like, we have this agrarianism idea, and basically they're factories, but in a different way.
Right. And I mean, the reason you have the kind of pasturage that Brig is taking advantage of is that you're offsourcing, you're offloading some of your financial load onto nature.
Yeah.
You know, No, I mean, obviously, there are certainly farmers. I follow James Rebanks from the Lake District in the UK on Twitter, and I loved his books, but who are trying to do more historically, meaning like more sustainable, methods of farming that are closer to our roots, because that kind of farming is healthier for the land.
But what I'm saying when I say factory, like,
he's not sentimental here.
But we think of this modern idea factory, but like, in the Carolinas, like, again, the reason that pork was the predominant meat was because of it was the predominant meat until like the 1940s, is the waste to product ratio.
Right.
Is that you could take unusable things in your waste, your human waste, your food waste, whatever, and it gets turned into usable product through a hog by their meat. And I liked that this book kind of touches on that.
Yes.
Because so many times it's just like, oh, dear Lord, we in the fields and everything's so...
And he's not like, go to the ranch.
Yeah.
No, he's like, I'm going to lose money on this. And the land itself is intrinsically worthless, and I'm going to starve.
Right.
I mean, he's very clear-eyed about his role in farming and in food production. And, all of that stuff was actually really good. All those discussions about, like... Yeah, and they talk about the ethics of hunting, and they talk about the ethics of ranching, and funny, like there's obviously no concept that you could be a vegetarian. In this book. That's just no. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So I mean, you're
no. I mean, I'm sure Mike, who's making the margaritas, is a vegetarian.
Yeah, he probably is. But so would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? Well, like we said, it was shockingly progressive in terms of its character.
We haven't even gotten into Jocko.
No, we have not gotten into Jocko.
The most offensive thing about Jocko is his name. But it was interesting because in the book, working on the ranch is this Hispanic man. And what's interesting is that Jordana, who speaks like a little bit of Spanish, like talks to him in Spanish, but she also asks, like, where are you from? Like, she does do the assumptive of like, is your family Mexican? And he's like, no, my family's from Spain. I'm Basque. And I was like, this is great. Like,
yeah, like, oh wow, yeah, there are like different ethnic groups in Spain, and okay.
Yeah, so like that was our one. But I mean, like, it was really like Jocko was like really.
You expect him to be like a Mexican vaquero, and he's not. No,
he's great.
And that's just like part and parcel with everybody else in this book seem like a real person except for the two leads.
Oh my God, yeah.
But like, okay, so everybody is white. There is a black secretary in Max's office, but you get the impression, like Brig actually says something about like, well, I guess he wants those. He didn't say diversity points because I don't think they had that concept then. But like, he wants to look so progressive, and she's hot as hell. So I mean, like,
yeah.
But so essentially, everybody with a speaking part is white,
right?
But yeah, I was shocked that because books of this vintage, if there is a gay character, he's either a figure of fun or he's an evil guy.
Yes. And like, again, so we didn't really, I mean, we touched on it, but like the coming out scene was one part like really, really funny because like how stupid Jordana is, but also it was really good because like essentially what Christopher says is he's like, Mike's not my roommate. And she's like, but wait, what?
And she still doesn't get it.
And then she's like, oh. And then, like, what happens is he tells her, he's like, when I came out to Dad several years ago, he told me if I told anyone else or if I told you, I'd be essentially disowned. And he's like, he's like, that was one reason for keeping quiet. He's like, the other reason is, like, I didn't want to have to see the same look on your face that I saw on Dad's face. And her whole thing is, like, I think this is really great and really beautiful. And, like, again, for a book that's from 1980, her only thing is once she got over the shock is she's like, but I'm your sister. You're my brother.
And like, they don't really seem to have a lot in common or get along that well. But yeah, and
he was like, yeah, I know.
She shows up for him. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know that. She's like, no, but I'm your sister. And so they have like a good cry and they hug each other and like they finally kind of understand each other. And it's not done. It's done really well.
Yeah.
Like it's.
For 1980 especially.
It is probably the best part of this book.
Yeah.
Is the brother-sister, like, coming to terms relationship. Like,
and you wonder if that hadn't happened, if she would have ever been able to realize her dad was,
it was really powerful.
Because if my dad's wrong about that, what else is my dad wrong about?
It was really great. It was a really great moment, and like, props to like Janet Dailey for putting in that like.
And after that, I was sure he was going to die.
Yeah,
I was 100% sure he was going to die.
Putting in a very real moment like that in a book from like this, that's not.
1980 is early, y'all.
Yeah, it was great.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. All thumbs up for that one. You're not leaving this house looking like that. There's, what the most outfit is in this book? They're wearing their long johns. Come up in the lot.
He does the slow unzip on the Sarah McBride nightgown special, like that.
Oh well, hilariously. Okay, so when he goes to like his bedroom and everybody's right there, to have sex with her, she's in this sexy soft robe. Okay, fine. Put a pin in that. And then when they're in the house weeks later. And then she zips up the robe. I realized what the robe was, and I do have that robe. The velour robe.
You have the velour robe.
With the zipper. It's great. And it's super comfortable, and it's got pockets. But so, that was her sexy robe, was the velour zipper robe. She does wear, a dress, but you can't really get an idea what the dress is really
I feel like the dress was, it was a black... her brother designed it. It was, a black jersey. And I think it was one of those where it was,
It was
like the
plungy, but not trashy.
But I saw it as the Hillary Swank, ooh, it's here. And
I thought it was the other way around. Honestly, I saw it as being more plungy in the front.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's like that. It made her look really sexy and grown up, but obviously
the real outfit was the green leisure suit.
Oh yes, it's Western styled, and he had a straw Stetson on. So of course New Yorkers were going to stop and stare at that shit. But they are actually kind of cute when they go on at each other all the time about how their long johns are sexy.
Oh my god!
Yeah, which I mean is kind of
great. Cute. That was cute.
And I mean because young fit people are cute and their little long johns prancing around,
Let's not be about
No, I look so I don't own it with a trap door, but I look like I should be wearing them with a trap door.
We don't live in Long John country. That's the thing.
Yeah, but when we get cold, we get real cold. So I do have I have some long johns handy if I ever need them.
Okay. Would your 12-year-old self have dog-eared any pages? I will say, their first sex scene is very descriptive, and then it's just honeyed passion.
There's a lot of plundering.
No, there is no information to be gained from their sex.
The first one, though, you're right. The first one is very, because they're doing it on the bearskin rug. I think he bends her over on a piano, too. I mean, it's that kind of thing.
It was boring sex because they're doing it every single night. And I was like, I got no time for this.
Can you imagine if luckily, I mean, I guess you're grateful if you're in the other tent that they're in a different tent.
This motherfucker also got shot in the leg and almost got hypothermia. And when he wakes up, he's like,
they're always like that, dude.
Let's do it. And I was like, no, I'm tired. I'll be like, motherfucker, your ass has been passed out. I've been breaking down this bookcase. I've had to take your clothes off, take my clothes off.
I boiled something. I mean, I'm making my long johns. What the fuck?
I'm making pine cone soup. Fuck you.
Well, and they always, it's a kind of book where these people are out in the field for weeks, but yet they always have to come up with they have to mention how much she's bathing, so you don't have to think about how stank they are.
Oh, exactly.
They're riding horses all day long.
No, it doesn't matter how much you bathe.
No,
you're fucking stank.
They nasty. Although I mean, I guess they nasty together. So
I guess
maybe yeah. I mean,
Yeah. What pairs nicely with a dumpster fire?
Well, it's got to be the kind of whiskey that you pour on your bullet hole, right?
I think it's okay. I think that's the answer. Is there a beer with a ram on it? Do we have a ram beer? That would be mine, is the ram beer.
Have y'all ever noticed that the logo for a Dodge Ram, it's negative space, it's a uterus, and it's got, if you look, it's got a whole cervix, it's got fallopian tubes, it is the whole bajangle. It's the whole thing. It's the whole bajangle.
I love it. So, yeah. You know what goes with it is, honestly, what goes with it is probably an Irish whiskey because all these fuckers drink is coffee.
Yeah. So. They drink that coffee, and that speckled...
that gross coffee. It's a speckle thing.
Yeah. Should a human being in the year 2021 read this book?
Absolutely not. This book was garbage. I hated it.
Okay, yes, this book was garbage, but I kept, texting Carter, you won't believe what happens in this stupid fucking book. So, I mean, if you enjoy it on that level, I would say that you should read that book. And it definitely does have that positive gay character who doesn't die and isn't a vizier.
That is true. You are correct there. I guess maybe, I'll revisit it. But I really didn't like our main characters. I would have liked it better, again, if it was about the brother. So.
Yeah, well, maybe if they had all died in a landslide at the beginning and the rest of the book was about the brother and the ranch hands, and they all have a fun.
The only thing that could have saved it for me and made it an absolute all-star smash is if at the end when the dad gets pushed, he falls off the mountain. If it had been the mountain goat to just come out of nowhere and push it, that would have made it.
Yeah, the hunching angle does not play well now, even though she kind of has a come to Jesus moment. But like we said, she's really just taking her dad's ideas and replacing them with some man's ideas. So that's not great. So the two of them are kind of garbage. But if Trudy and the brother and all these people had their own book, you should read that book.
Yes. So, yes, this has been, God, Ride the Thunder. Sarah.
You hate a fart joke. Courtney hates them so much that
I don't hate
you have no appreciation for a fart joke.
I don't appreciate a fart joke. The fart jokes are not for me. But for those of you who do enjoy a fart joke, here we go. This has been Ride the Thunder by Janet Dailey.
Did y'all know that if you ask Alexa to fart, she farts a different fart every time?
Hot tip.
Don't tell my son that, please.
So if you enjoyed this episode, you can find us in various places. If you want to hear Sarah fart some more, here are some places that you can find us. You can find us on
That's
Twitter.
only for Patreon subscribers.
You can find us at patreon.com/BodiceTipplers. You can find us at Twitter, BTipplers, Instagram, and Facebook at Bodice Tipplers, and BodiceTipplers.com.
Bodice Tipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.